Hi, everyone. My name is Steve Schulman, and I have Simone Abelson with me on this call. You can see us in the videos, and we are going to be going through some training for Slack today. I am involved on the Kindness Initiative, helping with a lot of the technical pieces. So I just want to say up front that if there are any questions regarding this afterwards, feel free to drop me a line on Slack, would be even better. Today, we're going to do a very brief overview of Slack. Now, before I say anything, Slack might seem like a daunting application, but really it's really nothing more than something like WhatsApp that's built into a number of different channels. And the idea of channels are really a way to take information and separate them into different groups of conversations so that all the people are not involved in all the conversations at the same time. And that becomes very helpful because it allows us to avoid information overflow, and it keeps information in specific areas, and it allows us, most importantly, to have a nice, consistent way of communicating and a good track record of everything that we've said, so that it's much easier to go back and see what decisions were made compared to standard email. So let's jump in. You can see the screen shared in front of you over here is a view of Slack. We are using the Kindness Initiative. I've got a number of other Slack projects over here, which you guys won't see, so ignore those. When you log in, you will see just the Kindness Initiative icon and the name Kindness Initiative over there. Now, the way that you will get into Slack is Simone will send you an invitation. The invitation will include a link in an email. You click on that link, you will be taken to a page, and that page then will allow you to log in and create a password. Now, most important, out of everything I say today, here's the most important thing for Slack, is that you can comfortably use Slack in a web browser by just logging into whatever URL there is. In our case, it's kindnesssd.slack.com. But the web browser has a lot of major drawbacks. Most importantly, you don't get the notifications that you do if you install the application itself. So whether you have got a Mac, whether you've got a Windows PC, whether you've got an iPad, an Android phone, an iPhone, Slack has applications that are free, quick, and easy to install for all of them. Once you install it, literally just asks you for the name of the URL, which is going to be kindnesssd.slack.com. You'll put in your name, put in your password, and you're good to go. And the beautiful thing about having Slack over here is when you get a notification, it pops up in this window. And even though you cannot see the bottom of my Mac screen, you have the Slack icon there, and you have the little number, exactly as you would an email or WhatsApp. You'd see, oh, I've got 2 notifications. It would show a red number with a 2 there, makes it very clear, as well as getting the pop-up notifications. And the same applies on your iPhones or your other smartphone devices. So please definitely install the app. So let's take a minute to explore what Slack is and how to navigate around Slack. And then Simone and I will send a couple messages. We will show how we can communicate both individually, one-on-one, and in a group setting. And that's pretty much it. We'll cover some of the basics, get you guys up and running. So let me start explaining what these things are. A channel is really a group message area. So any time that you want to create an environment where you're going to be communicating with multiple people and you want that to consistently be kept for future reference, that is done in the channel. Channels are usually done by topic. And the way that we do them here at KI is that we preface the name of the channel by the type of channel that we are going to be creating. And the 3 main types are going to be member, volunteer, and partner. Those are the 3 types. And that helps us because channels are all ordered alphabetically. So as we start getting more and more channels up and running, you'll be able to see all the partner ones will be grouped together, and likewise with the volunteers and the members. Makes it really easy for us to see. We've got 3 sample channels that we've created here. We've got a member, Joshua Cohen, that I've created for this. We've got a volunteer, Susan Cohen, that we've created. And we've got a partner, Hi, that we've created. And we're doing this specifically so that we can show you guys what it's going to be like to communicate, to go into a channel, to send messages, etc. So that is the idea of what channels are. So let's just kind of recap. Channels are areas where you post communal messages to any person who is part of that channel. Now, if we look at the area below that, we have direct messages. And direct messages really are a way for us to communicate with a person in the same way that you would in a regular chat. So if you don't want to post something for a group, you have a quick question you want to ask a person, you can easily do that in the chat setting. And what that will do is that this direct message will just be a way for you to communicate back and forth. We'll show you how to do that. We'll show you how to create a new direct message, and even be able to create groups. You can see over here, this is a message over here that's going between Jonah, Simone, and myself. So you can create as many people as you want in a group, but anything that you want to be persistent, I recommend putting it under channels instead. Now let's go talk a little bit about channels. Now, one thing I'm assuming that Simone sent me is a message in the member Joshua Cohen channel. The minute you have a message that gets sent into a channel, or for that matter, into your direct message, that will highlight. It will show you the number of messages. So you can see Simone sent a message just a second ago that mentioned my name. I'm now notified there's 2 messages in here. So let's kind of jump in and take a look. So inside a channel over here, you can see, we just created this a couple minutes ago. I created the channel, set the description, and then, Simone made a note over here that said, Steve, Joshua needs an angel. And then Simone sent a thank you. That one didn't get my notification, but I'll show you what that's going to look like. Once we send a message and there isn't a notification, you still are going to get some type of a notification warning that there is conversation happening in that channel. And I'm going to show you what that looks like right away. So you can see over here a couple things to note. Firstly, the names over here that show up in Slack are the people who are currently involved in that. If I put a message in here, I'm going to say, hi, this is a test, and I hit enter. It's going to show my name over there, and it's going to have a message from me. And that's going to have a timestamp on there. You can see exactly when that is. And all the messages here are shown in chronological order, which means the newer stuff is always at the bottom, the older stuff is always at the top. So that's helpful because the way that the text entry is put over here is at the bottom. So as this starts getting more and more messages, the old stuff will scroll out of view, and you only will need to necessarily be worried about the new stuff. But keep in mind, what you want to be doing is you want to go to a channel, you want to look at that channel, and you really want to just scroll up to see what you've missed from the bottom to the top. So if I go into a channel like general, for example, you can see there's a lot more information over here. The newer stuff over here is in the general channel. You can see all people over here, color coded with different icons and names. As you scroll up over here, you can see information about the channel, and it's easy to go back and forth and then add it in there. And you can even see it says over here, send a message, just like if we go into our member thing, it says send a message to member Josh Cohen. So it's nice and intuitive. You can do that over there. And I'm going to show you just a little bit about the messaging area. So this area here has a number of features that you can do. You can do shortcuts, which we'll talk about in a minute. We can do, bold, italicize, strike through. We can do certain coding, which is a different way of showing text. You can link to things very easily. You can have numbered lists, bullet lists. You can even do block quotes, and you can even do what's called a code block, which is just a way for us to show a snippet of text. If you want to copy from something and just highlight it in a different way, you can do that. You've also got a lot of functionality here in terms of different emojis. Emojis are very big here. You've got full attachments, which we're going to talk about. And there's a way to mention someone as well, which is using the @ sign. So we'll talk about that in a second. But something that's interesting that I just want to show you is I'm going to ask Simone just to start typing something in this channel. And as she starts typing, even though that's not there, you can see in the bottom corner over here, it says Simone is typing. And that's good to know. That's kind of like when you're on a text message and you see those 3 dots in something like iMessage, or even in WhatsApp when you see someone else is typing. It's helpful because if someone's online, they're busy typing, you can expect that they're going to be sending something soon. And if it stops, it means after a while that they've stopped typing. So that's just a nice way for you to see if someone is responding to you and maybe just taking some time. Let's talk a little bit about the formatting. So I'm going to take just a snippet of text over here. I'm going to say, this is a sample sentence. And let me just copy this a couple times just so you guys can see. Okay, we've got that. Okay, so if I just hit enter, I can post this right away. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, sometimes you need to be able to enter multiple lines without having to always send this thing in. And to do that, you can just simply hold the control key. And if I do that, if I go over here, for instance, hit control key, it puts it on a separate line. And likewise, I can just go in and do that over here. So if you don't, what will happen is you wind up sending this right away. But at any point, if you just want to hop to a new line, just control enter, and you can just enter that in. Now, likewise, you can go in and select a line. You can hit bold, you can hit italics, or you can just hit the shortcut keys for those as well. The shortcut key for italics is Command I or Control I on Windows. And likewise, B is bold as well. So it's very similar to using Word or anything else. You can select all of this. You can say I want these bulleted, and then you hit enter, and it will post that in. Now, if you decide, oh, this is not exactly what I want, you can just go back in here, and you can see these are all different options. You can put different types of emojis on that. You can reply, which we'll talk about in a minute. You can even share that to somebody else. You can add it or bookmark it. But then there's this more actions here, and one of these actions allows you to do things. You can edit it, or if you posted it in the wrong place by mistake, you can delete it. So you can just say, right now I want to edit this over here. I really didn't want that to be, I wanted that to be both bold and italicized. So let me bold that, and then you just hit update. And now you can see it's fixed. So a lot of, easy navigation and editing of text can be done here. You can also paste text from Word or anywhere else into Slack very easily. Now, one of the things that we like to do a lot in Slack is give feedback through quick responses and emojis. Now, as you can see, as we start, having multiple conversations over here within the same category, this can get unwieldy. So one of the things we really want to do is bring in the idea of replying to specific pieces of information. So it's very easy just to keep replying over here and hitting a new message, thank you, etc., etc. But let's say if I wanted to reply to this, instead of just writing underneath that, you can go into this icon here, which is reply in a thread. And what that does is that opens up on this right here a thread for this specific topic. And you could say, something like that. And now that shows me a reply here. But down here, you could see it shows a reply. So what that does is instead of making this very unwieldy, conversations are kept in groups or threads. And then that's helpful because now if I go in over here, I can keep in that reply over there. Now you can see it's 2 replies, 3 replies. And I can always exit out this thread. And you can see immediately now the concept that this is going to become very neater and easier to follow, because instead of having just tons of conversations that go back and forth, we've now got the situation where conversations are kept in their threads themselves. And that's a very helpful thing. So I definitely recommend that if you want to comment on something like this, just all you do is you go in this over here, you go in, it shows you in a separate thing. And likewise, you can add your comment there. If you decide, I didn't really like that comment, you can go and you can delete that. It just gives you a confirmation. Yep, I want to delete that. That thread is gone. But then you can go in and you can say, anything else you want over here, you can add in. That's really helpful. One of the things that you'll notice is the minute you hit reply here, it does take you into this new window, and it allows you to go in. If you click on reply here, it's got this whole area. So what's nice about that is that you can start having a whole conversation specific to that one discussion point, and it keeps everything very much separate from the entire conversation. And sometimes this may not be necessary if you're just talking about one thing, but the minute you start having multiple conversations, definitely look to thread them out.
A thread would be great if you are a volunteer angel and your member has multiple needs and there's lots of different hands in different pockets. Each pocket could be, here's the need for their new rental, here's the needs for their new car, here's the needs for their newest eating programs, food programs. So that way we can get updated on each thread.
And I think we'll try to, give hints and a little bit of policing where need be. So please don't take anything personally if we say, hey, I think you should move this into a thread. It's just helping us keep things neat. And you know, over time, these things will become fairly large channels with conversation. So the sooner we can get things, you know, in a structured way, the better we will be. And I think that will be great. The other thing which is nice, which we use a lot of in Slack, is quick feedback, usually through emojis. And what that means is that, you know, sometimes not every item here needs to be responded to, but it is helpful to know that something has been read. And if that's the case, what you could do is you can go over here, and then there's a couple of shortcuts that we've created: a thumbs up, a checklist, and a nicely done. But then there's also, you know, a whole slew of emojis over here that you can do. So if you wanted to, you know, if someone was commenting and you thought that it was appropriate to talk, you know, something, let's say, about some initiative that might be wasting money, you could just do that type of thread, and then immediately that's basically saying that you've reacted to, you know, this idea that, oh, okay, this is potentially a waste of money. So this over here is a nice way for you to really communicate very, very succinctly about an idea, or just say, you know, if this is something that's useful, you could say, okay, there you go, done, and it's there. And likewise, you know, that's something that you can remove at any time. If you just click on that icon again, you remove it. So anything you just say that you realize, oh, that was the wrong thing, just click on it. Maybe you just want a thumbs up. A thumbs up is so much easier. And what's nice about it is, Simone, can you go and thumbs up that same thing over there? You'll see that it starts collecting them and grouping them, which means if you have 5 or 6 people in a channel and they're all thumbs up, you'll start being able to see, oh, look, 2 people thumbed that up. And you can see now that this has been, it says here, you and Simone both reacted with a +1 or a thumbs up. We've talked a little bit about what it's like to communicate in the channel. We've talked a little bit about responding. Let's just talk for a minute about something really important, and that is 2 types of channels. Now, one thing that you'll notice as you're looking down the left over here is you'll see these little hashtags and you'll see these little locks. Now, the hashtag symbol implies that a channel is a public channel. The lock symbol implies that the channel is a private channel. Now, if you click on any channel over here, you can go to the channel information here and you can see who are the members of that channel. Like right now, it's just Simone and myself. No one else in the KI environment will even see that show up, that member Joshua Cohen, because that's a private channel, and private channels only show up in the board here for people who are members. So some of you will get here and you'll see a totally different selection. In fact, everyone's going to have a unique selection. You'll find that volunteers will have more volunteer-based channels open to them. People who are working with specific members may see one member there, but there might be, you know, 50 member channels that are private there that we don't see. So keep in mind that everyone's going to have a different view of this. And this is specifically done, number one, from a privacy point of view, because we're dealing with a lot of sensitive information. So we want to make sure that the people who are working with members are those that are supposed to be working with them. And for example, I don't even, you can see on my account here, I don't even have any member information because I don't want to be involved with knowing anything that is member specific. I think that's specific, you know, for other, you know, other people in the org to do.
On that note, really quickly, sorry to cut you off, Steve.
Yeah.
We do ask that if it has the hashtag and not the lock, please do not put any members' names there. If you do need to speak about a member in general for any reason, you just use their first and last initial. You don't use their name for the privacy.
And exactly. And that's a perfect example of where a direct message would be better. So if you've got a question about a member, you can ask that, let's say, directly to Simone. So you would, and we'll talk about direct messages in a minute. You can just go and add Simone into a direct message, send her a message, and that's fine because no one else will see that. And it's just between the 2 of you. So that is a good way to secure privacy. But yeah, anything that's going to have, and it's not just member information, but anything that's information that should not be made available to, you know, everyone in the organization, you know, keep in mind, post it where it needs to be posted. You know, I usually frown upon using this general, you know, this, let me just close that out. I frown upon using this general board as much as possible because I think that there's very little over here that we really need to post to every single person. But, you know, if you want to welcome someone, this is the perfect place to do that. Or if there's just a general question about Slack, this is a place to do it potentially. But, you know, this is this is important just to keep in mind, is the idea of the public and the private. What you can do as well is these public channels, you can reference them and refer to them from anywhere in the application quite easily. And I'll show you how this works. So let's say I am, back to my member, Joshua Cohen, my sample over here. And I can say something like, please see the, and I just put the hashtag symbol there, and you can see all of the general, public channels will appear here. So I can just select that, or even start just typing it. So I can see, please see the website channel for more information on how to set up something. I'm not going to say Slack because we don't have the information in Slack on the website channel, but this is an example of what you can do. So you can see that it highlights it in blue. And if I hit enter here, that makes it available. Now, anyone who reads this, all they have to do is click that button. And now look, I'm taken directly into this channel, which is really great. So what that means is that if you've got information in any of these channels over here, you can create shortcuts to saying, hey, go take a look at this. This is something that is helpful to guide people. And over time, we will start developing, certain pieces of information in Slack, how-to guides, reference information. And what we will do is we'll wind up often answering a question. If someone says, hey, I'm not sure how to, send a direct message, we might wind up saying, oh, take a look at this channel. We've got a conversation there, and that's quite helpful. So that's really the difference between the public and the private channels. You can make a channel private once it's public, but you cannot do it the other way. So anytime that you've made a channel and you said, I want to make that a private channel, there is no way to create that back to be a public channel. So keep that in mind. Public channels can always be made private. So the minute we've got some information there that we feel we want to lock that down and make that a private channel, we can do that, but you cannot do it the other way. So just keep in mind, when you're creating a private channel, it'll always have to stay private. All right. Look, someone's just showing me there's a resources over here right now, and you can see someone invited me to this resources channel. I'm going to click on that over here. You can see this is some information over here. Simone, do you want to just go through a little bit about what this is going to be used and how it's going to be created?
This is a channel that all volunteers will be invited to. And it is a public channel because it is for everybody. And this is where we keep all of our KI resources. So if we say a member needs to speak to somebody at a different organization, it'll be in this channel that you can see what that organization does and who our contact is there. So right now you can see the last one we added was for this Kibitz and Ride program. And there'll be different programs throughout that we'll be able to reference and use along the way.
And now one thing that this is worthwhile mentioning is we haven't really spoken about how to bring the outside world into Slack, but bringing the outside world into Slack is actually very powerful and very easy. Slack integrates seamlessly with everything from images, Microsoft Office, Dropbox, and thousands of other tools in a very nice and simple way. So one of the things, I'm not going to mess around on the resources channel. Let's go back to our, member channel over here. One of the things that's very, very powerful with Slack is that it can automatically bring in third-party documents and tools in a very interesting and powerful way. For example, let's say I've got an image on my desktop, and I want to say, something like, take a look at this photo. I just drag that in there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this over here. This says upload to Kindness Initiative. I just drop the photo, and then it shows the photo right in there, and I hit enter. And basically, as soon as that's uploaded as well, because it's quite a big photo, hit enter, and you'll see now the photo's in there, which is great, because what this means is that we no longer have to have some information in point A, some information in point B. If there's an image, a photo, a document, we can bring everything in very nicely, very easily into Slack here, and then we can comment about it as well. So just the same over here as how we start a conversation. I can do things like, obviously do my emojis, but I can also go in and I can make some comments of that if I wanted to and chat about that. So if there's, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Drag it in here, we can talk about that. And the same goes really with documents. And this is really, I think, where the power lies. Okay, so one of the things I want to show you is, how Slack does integrate with third-party tools. Here's an example of a post that Simone added in from Dropbox. And you can see here, what's really nice about this is a PDF file, instead of having to go to Dropbox and find it, you literally just click over here. It would then, open up in your window that document and show it straight away. So it really gives you that instant, access to that without having to go look around. So anytime there's a new document, someone can post that document in. Same with a website, anything like that will click through, and it just makes it really easy to have everything in one place. So let's kind of go back over here and just quickly do a summary before we talk about notifications and messaging and direct messages. So quick summary is channels with the lock are private. Those are going to be for specific members only. Channels with the hashtag are public channels. You can link to other public channels easily, and those channels really should not have any information there that is going to be compromising or contain member information. We can edit in Slack using a lot of the same rich text functionality that you're used to in Microsoft Word, from bolding, bullets and number points, putting lists together, pasting directly from third parties. So it's really quick and easy to get text up there. You can edit text, you can delete text that you've posted. Unfortunately, not that other people have posted unless you're an admin. But for the most part, feel free that it's a very, simple environment to communicate. And the idea really is then just to be, replying, putting up ideas, communicating, just as you would in something like WhatsApp. But I'm sure you've seen, with things like inline replies and different channels and groups, the power of Slack is really quite notable, especially when we've got a lot of people communicating together. Now, what happens in the case where we don't necessarily want to send something to a channel here where it will be, kept indefinitely? We want to just ask a question. So a good example of this is I may want to ask a question, let's say to Simone, and I'm just going to pull in, even though Robin has no idea that I'm pulling it into this training here, I just want to show you what it's going to mean to be able to do that. So when it comes to creating a direct message, that icon at the top there is a new message, the easiest way to do that. Or you can, if you want a multiple message, you can click the add teammates. Both of them do the same thing. You can invite, actually, no, that's not going to be what I want to go over to right now, but this over here is a way for you to say, who do I want the message to? You say, I want the message to be Simone. Anyone else? Yep, I want the message also to be to, let's say, Robin. So I can say Simone and Robin. Now, here, you can see there is some history of some message. So if you want to add, let's say, a third person, I can add a third person. And now you've got a message between 3 people over here. You can say something like, hi, I am testing the Slack direct messaging feature, and that's it. And you hit go, and now you can see that I've got a message between Leader, Robin, Simone, and myself, all in its own area. Now I'll ask Simone just to respond quickly to that with a one-liner. In the meantime, I'm going to be, let's say, in the general thing over here. The reason I want to mention this is there's a slight difference in the way notifications work. Whenever you get a notification in a message where you're directly involved in, you will get that notification come through straight away in the form of a notification pop-up. So what happens then is you could see you've got a bubble there showing you information about that. Now, let's say, Simone, I'm going to ask you just to put in, and I may have just got this, I may not be notified with this based on my notifications, but put something in the volunteer Susan Cohen without my name. Just say, hi, this is a test or something like that into that channel. In the meantime, you could see over here that there's starting to be some conversation around that. So let me click on that. We'll talk a little bit about that. So, you can see Robin's now mentioned that she received. Yep, that's great. And this is really a conversation. So keep in mind, if you've got anything that's private, that's sensitive, you do not want it to be shared to the rest of the group, and you just want it between 1 or more people, this is the place to do it. And these messages now are messages that you can always go back to. There will be things that you can keep in for future, but it's only really between the people that are involved. I can then say, oh, you know what, I'm going to X that out, so that's going to disappear. But if I decide I want to bring that back, I could go back and do the same thing. I want to do Simone, Leader, and Robin. So those 3 people, immediately you could see I'm back to this message over here, and I can say thanks all. The minute I respond to that, it's back on my list here. So yeah, you can keep as many or as few direct messages here. My recommendation is the messages that you are actively working on, keep in this direct message area. Once it's something that you're no longer likely to need, just exit out of there so that this can, you know, remain nice and condensed. And that way it's something that, you know, you can then keep under control, because you can imagine these things will get and spiral out to be pretty big once you start messaging a lot of people. But once again, if you get brought into a message over here, if someone mentions your name directly on a message, anyone who sends a message, you will always get a notification, and it'll always show the number of notifications on there. Now let's compare that over here to this volunteer Susan Cohen. Now you can see volunteer Susan Cohen, that is highlighted, so it's bolded, so you can definitely see that there's activity happening here, but it's not, it doesn't have the 1 or the 2 or the number over there. And the reason is because this is just conversation that's happening in the channel, but nothing is mentioning my name directly. And that's important because, you know, when you look at this, if there's things that you see with this 1, it really means that you are personally involved in the conversation that you need to respond to. So make that a higher priority. If you see this over here, you're just seeing that there's activity in this channel. Now, even a direct message, any information over here is going to target that +1, because in a direct message, it's important that you get notified. If you're part of that direct message, you'll always be part of that recipient of that notification. But if you go here to volunteer, you can see the minute I click it, it no longer gets bolded because it now knows that I've seen that. And, you know, and you can see there's a message there from Simone. Now, one of the things you may be thinking, oh, go ahead, Simone.
I did it on purpose. You can see that I did say, hi, Steve, but I did not use the @ symbol. So because I did not use the @ symbol, he didn't get the message as the number 1.
That's actually
bolded.
Exactly. That's a very, very good point. And actually something that I'm glad you brought up, because I just want to cover that as well. There's a very big difference between Steve and @Steve. As you can see, the difference there is that the @ really means that it's a certain person, whereas that's just a word. That is what's going to trigger a notification. And if you want to get someone else's attention, you @ them. And this is what's going to be the way for you to be able to reach out to someone. So if you wanted, you know, keep in mind though, if you're on a private channel here, so this is important to mention. This is a private channel. It's just between Simone and I. If I try and @ Robin over here and I say, hi, I'm going to get a message that says, well, Robin's not on this channel. Look, when I click this, you're going to see it says, you mentioned Robin, but they're not in this private channel. You can either invite them or you can do nothing. So I'm going to do nothing here. So that's important. And it will help you in that situation. And then I can go through and say, I did it in the wrong place. Let me delete that, and it's gone. So when you @ people, it really just notifies them, and they'll get that instant notification. If they're on a phone, it'll come through as an in-app notification, and that way you can get hold of them right away. It's kind of almost like sending them a direct text message. Now, on a you know, on a channel like a general channel over here, you can easily, you know, @ anyone over here in our groups. There's a lot of people in here. You know, you can also, there's a couple of shortcuts over here, and I want you guys to think about the shortcuts, because sometimes these need to be used sparingly. Now, if you're on a channel over here that's got general that everyone's part of, if you notify them using one of these shortcuts here, you're going to notify everyone in the channel. It's a shortcut. So let me make an example of this. Let's say on the website channel. So if I look at the website channel here, there's 6 people on the website channel. Okay. So if I want to say over here, you know, channel, okay, the website is looking good. What will happen is it'll say to me, notify 5 people. Yes. Using channel pings everyone in the channel. It's rather noisy. So you're basically saying use this sparingly. But if I do that and I hit send, it's actually going to send notification to everyone in this channel. So there's all 6 people will get that notification. Likewise, what I can do is I can do a shortcut that's called here. And here is basically saying everyone who's in the channel who's currently online. So people who are offline won't get that notification. But here is a fantastic way of saying, hey, if anyone's in Slack right now, help me answer this question. And people who are not logged in, they won't be, you know, notified with that. So how do you know if they're logged in? Well, here's the way to do that. When you look at the direct messages down the side, and you can see all the people. If you want to see who's logged in, you can see there's a little green dot for anyone who's currently active. Anyone who's not active is marked as away. They'll get here a dot that looks like just a hollow dot. So when I look down, I can see just myself and Simone is currently active, but that doesn't mean that the two of us are the only ones right now who are logged into Slack. It just means in my list over here, if I were to say, okay, I want to create a direct message, let's say with Robin, and I just hit enter there, I can then see, you know, if now I want to look to see Robin and she's not on the list over here, I can see, you know, by hovering over there, if she's online or not. So you can see the fact that she's got that hollow dot there means that she's not currently online. And likewise, you know, if you've got a group of people over here, so let's say I go into this channel over there and I want to look at, you know, other people over there, you can see, you know, kind of what things look like. Right now, seeing that Robin's offline, Leader's online, Simone's online, I'm online. So you can always see on that. And if you really kind of want to take the easiest way to do this, you click on the general and then you just click on, you know, general channel. So this, when you click on general channel, this is what it will look like. And all you do is you click on the I information there and you click on members, you can see immediately who's online right now. So you can say, okay, great, I'm online, Leader's online, Simone's online. That's a nice way you can then say. So if you do it here, it's only going to notify the three of us. Whereas if you do something like everyone or channel, it'll notify everyone. If they're offline, they may not get a notification right away, but they will if they've set up, if they're not explicitly set to away. And that leads to a very important determination. And that is, how do I set myself to away? And sometimes why I don't want to always be, you know, involved and be kind of reached out and bugged by other people. You guys might want to say, hey, right now, I just want to be doing my work. I don't want to be bothered by anyone. So in the top right corner here, you can see your profile picture and you can see that green dot applies that I'm active. If I click on that now, you can choose to say, you can set yourself away. You can pause notifications. So if you, let's say, going into a meeting or something, you can say, just do not disturb me for 30 minutes. I just click on that. And you can see it's got the little Z icon next to my name over there. Same thing over there. If you look at that, it just means that I'm active, but notifications are snoozed. So that's quite nice. If you're in a meeting, you don't want to get notifications, just snooze them out. You can also then, you know, go ahead and turn that off. And then you can do other things over here, which is nice. And I invite you guys to explore around with this, including going into profile and changing your icons. But you can set yourself as a way. And what that's helpful is if you just want to, you know, let's say you're going out or you just, you know, watching a movie, you don't want to be notified, but you got it on your phone, just set yourself to away. And that basically means that you won't get any notifications while you're away. And then when you come back, you can go in and say, set yourself as active. So you can manually do that. You can also, you know, do things like you can set your status and you can say, for example, you know, you're in a meeting, you know, for an hour. And basically what that means, you can clear that status after any time you want. So let's say I'm going into a 4-hour meeting. I can say I'm in a meeting for 4 hours. I can hit save. Now you can see it's got a little icon there that says in a meeting, and likewise on the side there, you can say I'm in a meeting and it says until 4:15 p.m. So it's really quite nice. If you want to, you know, just say, look, I'm currently out for the day or whatever it is, and you don't want to have to go through sending messages to anyone, just go and set your status and say, look, you know, you can clear it. You can set it, you know, to whatever you're doing. If you're in a meeting, if you know, out sick, you're on vacation, working remotely, anything like that, you can choose any type of status. And there's even, and I'm not going to cover that today, there's even the ability to automatically hook this up with your calendar so that whenever you go into a meeting on your calendar, it puts you in and there's a do not disturb. And you can also even do things that say, for example, I want to have my set away done every day at 9 p.m. until 8 a.m. the next morning. It automatically does that. Very easy to do that. All you do is just go into this area here under your name, and you can do things, you know, set a notification schedule, for example, which is going to allow you to say, this is really when I want to be online. So a lot of powerful things over here that's got to do with that. But most importantly, you can see who's online and who's offline, and using those two keywords, which are you know, the channel, which I put over here, and the here, those are important as well. One other thing I just wanted to mention, then maybe we'll take a pause for a little bit, is just the idea of what on earth are these little pens over here? So if it turns out that that you start writing something in a channel, but then you maybe get distracted or you have to jump to something else, Slack is going to be smart enough to remind you that you've got somewhat of a draft in here that's set up, and it'll actually even show you what it's done. So if you click on here, that's a reminder that you've got something that you started typing, but you haven't sent it. So if I go to a website, it says here, oh, okay, I might need to send it. So if you're like, okay, that's a mistake, and you just exit that out, then the minute I click on another channel here, you can see I'm no longer seeing that. And likewise with general, I put in an @ over there. So keep in mind when you see those over, those things, doesn't have to be an @ or anything. The minute you put something in over here, it's going to remind you that you've got a draft, and it'll tell you a little bit of what that is. So that is very, very helpful. And then likewise, what's I think incredibly helpful, especially for me, I get a lot of Slack messages a day. If you log in and you see, oh, okay, there's an important message over here, and you're like, oh, I've got to run to a meeting, I want to respond to this, but I can't do it right now. The thing I use more than anything in Slack is the reminder. So all you do is you click over here and you say, remind me about this in 20 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, tomorrow, next week, or any custom time. You can say, remind me about this at 3:30 p.m. But for me, I'm going into meetings, so remind me about this in an hour. And basically you hit that, and then what's going to happen is in an hour, you're going to see this thing called Slackbot, which is just the Slack's own automated robot, is basically going to show you a little reminder that's going to say to you, hey, don't forget about this thing that you asked me to be reminded of. And then you can click through to this message, and it will show that to you there, which is nice. So these reminders are incredibly helpful, especially if you don't have time to answer something now, because often if there's many channels, once you've read it, it's hard to unread it. So the easiest thing to do is just give yourself a reminder, and then that way you can go back to that. So I think that's probably the breadth of what I wanted to cover today. It's a lot of stuff, and I highly recommend watching this a couple of times, and most importantly, playing around a lot. See what that looks like. There's so many things. There's 3 things over here I didn't even mention. I will take 1 minute to do that because it'll be confusing if I don't. Threads or any kind of back and forth information. So these are when we've created these threads. You can just click on this and it'll give you a list of every conversation you've had that is involved in threads, which is helpful. All DMs or all direct messages. So this is just also showing all the direct messages you've had back and forth. And likewise in drafts, it shows you anything here. Remember, we started this over there, sentence. Drafts will be a place that you can get that out there. And then also, if you mentioned or, things of yours have been reacted to, you can go and do that. So these are little shortcuts into these pages. But overall, the easiest thing to do in Slack is just to really, play around. It's a really powerful tool, and you can take any file off your desktop, not just a photo, a PDF, anything. Just drag it into Slack; it'll keep it there. So it's a great place to keep information. If you want to upload something, just upload it into Slack and play around. And as I said, reach out to me and Simone if you have any questions. And I think it seems like a lot with all the things we went through, but once you start using it, you'll find it's really easy. And best of luck, and we're here to help you.